Some Cairns blokes can be credited with saving Australia from a menace potentially worse than the cane toad. Black spined toads are a real nasty. Closely related to the cane toad, these exotic pests can live in a wider temperature range, which makes them a big biosecurity threat. From time to time, they hitch a ride on a freight ship which travels between West Papua and Cairns. But before they ever get a chance to escape, the company which unloads the ship spots them and hands them over to the Australian Quarantine and Inspection Service. Ken Freeman is the Cairns manager of that company, and I joined him at the wharf to find out more about what they do.
All our responsibility really is the discharge of the vessel and the handling of the cargo. That's our role, and because we actually go on board the vessel, we have a further role with AQUIS where we keep an eye out for them if there's any foreign pests coming ashore.
What are you looking for in particular?
There's several things. The main one we find is the spiny Asian toad, but there's also chances of mosquito larvae and Asian honeybees. There's also chances of other animals like cats can get on board into containers. So there's a range.
And where are they hiding?
Most of the toads are found actually in the hold of the vessel after we finish discharge, because they probably piggybacked a ride on board under a container, and then during the trip down here they probably fall off that or go looking for a drink and end up down the bottom of the hold.
So how do you detect them there?
At the end of the discharge, the hold itself, it's got what they call a boxed hold, so it looks like a big shoebox. So there's not many nooks and crannies for them to hide in, so at the end of the day it's just like looking in a big shoebox and down the bottom to see what's there.
Now, these black spined toads are rather small, aren't they?
Yeah, they can be. They can only be a centimetre big, or probably the biggest is up around the 4 or 5 centimetre mark.
And a recent find of 2 of them on the vessel. How big were they?
They were exceptionally small ones. So it was good work by the waterside worker who found them.
What's the chances of them ever actually getting off the boat when you've got so many checks and balances in place?
What we've said over the years is that there's probably, of the toads we've found, 90% were found in the hold of the vessel, and they really can't get out unless they come out on cargo. And then there's probably another 5% we may have found on the wharf itself. As a container hits the wharf, they get shaken off, so we find them on the wharf. And then the other 5% might make it all the way through to the container cleaning process. The ones we find there are normally lodged in dirt under the containers and couldn't get out.
If they were ever to get past that stage, they still need a number of things that would have to go in their favour to ever establish too, wouldn't there? I mean, it's not a matter of them getting past the stage and just being able to run right.
No, it'd be like winning gold lotto in reverse, because they has to be a pregnant female and a male accompanying her. Then they have to find a pool of fresh water somewhere to lay the eggs and fertilise them.
Have you got any containers or anything that you're cleaning at the moment that we can have a look at?
Yeah, we're actually we finished washing all the containers off the ship that was in here on Monday and Tuesday, and we're now in the process of emptying some of the containers have general cargo in, so we're in the process of cleaning that cargo now.
We'll go and have a squeeze, eh? It's a pretty active area we've walked down to. There's a number of big bobcats, for want of a better word, driving around moving containers. You've probably heard of the dingo fence, which is pretty easy to imagine, a big fence running across the landscape. The toad barrier, not quite as big as the dingo fence, but we're standing in front of it here. Ken, what's it look like?
It's just a black plastic fence that's probably about 1/2 metre high. Fortunately, these toads can't jump very high, so it's well and truly got them covered at 1/2 metre, and there's no gaps in it. So once the containers are placed inside this toad barrier, they can't get out.
Yeah, and we're looking here at 2, 4, 6. I'm not even going to count, but there'd be what, 30, 20 containers there?
Yeah, this whole area can probably handle about 150 containers if it has to.
So when they come here, what are you doing to them?
As they come off the ship, they come down the ramp we were talking about, and then they get placed into this toad barrier. And then there's a removable section that goes across the front of it that we place there after the discharge is completed. And then the following day we come back and we start washing these containers.
Now, once you're washing them, are the toads or any other nasties falling down here onto the cement?
I don't think we've ever found one in the toad barrier itself, because if they haven't fallen off by the time they get onto the wharf, they're normally stuck up with mud underneath the container. Then we'd find them as we're actually washing underneath the containers.
Is there a bit of added pressure added to the job? Not only are you unloading these vessels, but you sort of have a sense of responsibility to Australia in general. If the black spine toad was to get in, for instance, it potentially could be worse than the cane toad because it can live in more environments.
That's right. And that's why the waterside workers have basically not been formally trained, but over the years have picked up what we're supposed to be looking for and take it pretty seriously and try and do their best to make sure that doesn't happen.
And if you do find something, is there a couple of beers at the end of the week just to celebrate?
In this day and age, you're not supposed to drink to celebrate anymore, but I'm sure we'd be forgiven for having a couple.
I'm sure that the greater Australian public should buy you a couple, mate.
That's right, and Aquis are always very good in acknowledging that we've done a good job, and that I think helps the men look harder next time.
That's Ken Freeman, the Cairns manager of the Northern Stevedoring Services, which is a company that helps keep Australia free of a number of biosecurity threats, including the black-spined toad.